Hi, hello, welcome. Let's talk about mouse pads. You know, that thing that most people use to put below their computer mice, and it just so happens to have many different types of these carpets. It's becoming apparent that over the past few years, mouse pads quite surprisingly became very important in gaming, especially for the FPS players. As the industry grows, people love to have a specific size of mousepad, a specific fabric, or came from a trustworthy brand to further enhance their performance. Now, one of the most trustworthy brands in the mousepad industry is Artisan. This particular brand came straight from the land of the rising sun, and these mousepads are well known by many pro players due to their premium quality and their premium price tags. It's an investment that not many would venture because the masses to this day still believe in one thing. It's just a mousepad. How much of a difference it would make anyway? Now, to tell you the truth, I was one of those person who asked the same thing until my friend hooked me up with one. This is the Artisan Zero. I want to give a special thanks to Ennuii Shop for giving me this Artisan Zero. Ennuii Shop is a Tokopedia store that sells premium mice modifications, and premium mouse pads, such as Artisan. If you have the time, take a look at Ennuii Shop's premium choices. Definitely worth it. Alright, let's get the elephant out of the room and talk about the sheer size of this pizza box. It's absurdly huge, and it's even more absurd for my parents to learn that it's a mouse pad and not a stolen artwork. This particular Artisan Zero is in fact the soft XL version, and while there are smaller versions of the Zero, the XL is the only one that was available. Needless to say, it's way bigger than my previous mousepad, and because of that, I had to readjust my table just to lay down this behemoth. And because it's so huge, it's gonna take more scrubbing when I need to wash this mousepad. So unfortunately, the XL version's practicality is on the lower end of the spectrum compared to my previous mousepads. But I have to say that the Artisan Zero looks amazing. The quality does not lie, and just by looking at the fabric of the Artisan Zero, you can tell that Artisan is the type of brand that doesn't mess around. If you look into the website, the Artisan Zero is aimed directly to compete against the mousepad I used to own, the SteelSeries QCK. But they mentioned that it's easier to glide your mousepad and a sharper operation. This of course raises a question. How sharp? And how easy it is to glide. Disclaimer, the following segment are based on personal experience. I only peaked Diamond 1 in Valerant. I've spent a concerning amount of hours in TF2. This does not fully reflect the mousepad's true impact, therefore try out yourself to have better understanding. My first impressions trying out this behemoth was a pure surprise in a very good way. My Valerant sensitivity is at 800 dpi, 0.22 in-game, and with the QCK, I deem that sensitivity is quite slow. Previously, I was under the impression that the sensitivity I used needs me to move my hands quickly when I need to do multi-target scenarios. It can be argued that I could have used a faster sensitivity to properly refine it, but that sensitivity seemed to be just right for me, a bit tough at longer play sessions due to the QCK's roughness. However, the difference between a worn QCK and an Artisan Zero Soft is very drastic. It felt so much quicker than the QCK, which means I have to control my mouse more. Personally, I find the sheer speed from the smoothness of the Zero is a good thing, because flicking is easier, which helps in situations that I need to do so. Additionally, because the mousepad is so thick, the mouse becomes more controlled once you hold it down, which also helps should you need extra control. During my first run with the Artisan Zero, I played a couple of games and I felt really pleased with the performance. Then I decided to try it in TF2, and while I'm aware that the Artisan Zero is marketed towards control style of aim in games like Counter-Strike and Valorant, it feels quite interesting in TF2. I had to adjust my sensitivity first, due to how fast my previous sense was alongside the Artisan Zero's softness, but after a couple of minutes later, it felt pretty good. Now, another thing that is worth mentioning is that I've owned the QCK for quite a while now, which made the mousepad rougher than it was brand new. Considering that the QCK is known to be slower than the Zero, I felt a change rather considerably in Valorant, but it was even more drastic in TF2 because the nature of the game. I've heard from my friends who own Artisan Mousepads, and they mentioned that it can get dirty in humid weather. Even though I have AC on, my wrist can still get sweaty, which will impact the fabric obviously. Because of that, I definitely recommend for you guys to buy some kind of a gaming glove or a gaming sleeve to prevent that from happening. In my eyes, premium mousepads such as Artisans are like premium running shoes. It is true that you can still jog every morning with any shoes you have as long as it's usable. However, premium running shoes give more comfort than normal running shoes, which allows you to feel more ease. Artisan Mousepads has somewhat a justified price tag due to their premium fabric that allows great performance for a very high longevity compared to its rivals. But to answer the previous question, the difference can only be felt in a very personal level. Some people would prefer the roughness of the QCK, and some would prefer the smoothness of the Artisan. So, in conclusion,
4.5 out of 5 it is very excellent thank you so much ennuii store